Well, this next little project is a fairly simple one. I have many Mamod model steam engines and I've always fancied a Mamod Workshop. Now, the actual Mamod Workshop, WS1, looks like that. But I've never really liked any of the Mamod blue painted accessories. And as far as I know, you couldn't purchase one with the green painted accessories, which Mamod made. You know, they made all the same accessories, but they were painted green rather than the blue. So I thought, well, okay, well, there's a simple way around this. I'll see if I can find a base of the WS1 Workshop on eBay, which I did. It needs stripping down and repainting. I already had some of the accessories, but I've since collected up the others, which is the power press, the power hammer, and the line shaft. I need to make a pulley. There's a pulley missing off the line shaft, but I can remove those from their bases and then fit them onto the original WS1 base, and I will have a WS1 Workshop, but with green Mamod accessories. Anyway, that's the plan, so that's what we're going to do. Well, after some considerable amount of time with a chisel and a hammer, it's a very delicate use of a chisel and a hammer, I might add, I've managed to remove all the accessories from their individual bases. So I've got them set up on the WS1 base where they will be finally. But that's presented us with another problem. The holes in the individual bases are, as you can see, quite small. The holes in the WS base are much bigger. So I've got to do something to allow the bolts to fit through the base properly and mount them. Now, one way to do it would be to make some very small top hat washers to have a small bore to mate up with the hole in the base, and then a bigger surround which goes through the WS1 base. I don't really fancy making 18 of those, which is what I'd have to do that. So I think what I'll probably do is a simpler option is to simply make up some plates, aluminium plates that are the same size as the base of the accessories, and then transfer the holes through and drill them out 6BA so that I can then use 6BA screws to mount that onto the base with the aluminium plate underneath. So that's the plan at the moment. Right, getting on with the Mamod Workshop. I've cut some little squares of some scrap Dural sheet, quite thin as you can see, and these will go underneath the base of the workshop and allow me to bolt these down using 6BA bolts. So basically what I've got to do is mark out the whole pattern. I've done a couple already, so you can see what we're getting at, and that's the buffer and the grinder have been done. I've got a plate for the power hammer, and a plate for the sort of power press and power hammer, and I have a strip which I haven't cut to length yet, but I will use this for the line shaft uprights. So yeah, let's get on and do it. Okay, so using the little bench anvil, these are brilliant. Thoroughly recommend you get one of these if you haven't already got them. Absolutely brilliant, because as Mr. Pete will tell you, you very definitely shouldn't be hammering on the back of your vise. Use a bench anvil. So what I'm going to do is line this up roughly. This does not need to be accurate. Using a transfer punch, I'm going to transfer one hole into the plate, like that. Then we'll go over to the drill press and we'll drill that out. Okay, so over on the drill press, and this is the setup. I have the float lock vise, which is ideal for this purpose. I've got an old parallel in there to support it, and we'll slap that in there like that. Get the parallel where we want it. Tighten up the vise. Tap it down in true Quinn fashion. Snip that up. Then we'll just locate the drill bit. I shall lock the quill, tighten up the float lock vise. So that's got that lined up. Move the parallel out of the way, which is a bit tight, which is what we want. And we are ready to go. Job done. I've just got 3 more on here and all the others to do. So that first hole I drilled, I've now got that plate bolted to the power press here with just one 6BA nut and bolt. And now I will go round and using the transfer punch, transfer the other holes. Just make sure that they'll all line up properly. And now I will take that off and go and drill those on the drill press. So that's all 4 holes done. Where's the old Nougat deburring tool? Quick whip round the holes. Doesn't need much. This is not actually aluminium, this is Dural, this plate, and it machines superbly. You get very little burr when you're drilling holes, and it, as I say, it just drills lovely. There you go, job done. So that's all, that's the power press, grinding wheel and the buffer done. I've just got to do the power hammer and the uprights for the line shaft, and we're done. Right, quick update on the Mamod Workshop. The base has been stripped of its original paint, etch primed and repainted, and it's come out okay. It's far better than it was. It's not perfect, but it's all right. I've made up a new pulley, which I need 2, and there was only one on the line shaft. One was missing. I've given everything a bit of a clean and a scrub down. The little plates are made so that we can bolt the tools to the base. I really need to leave the base a few days to harden off. The paint is touch dry, but it's not hard. So really all that's left to do is I'm going to disassemble the tools as best I can, and then polish up the axles and the little pulleys here. Clean that up. That needs to be polished up. But other than that, really, we're done. I obviously need to see what I've got in the way of Mamod drive belts for all of this as well. That's another thing. But yeah, it's coming along. So hopefully it should all be together soon. As you can see, the grind wheel disassembles very easily. The grinding wheels are just held onto the shaft with nuts and washers, and the buffer wheel is exactly the same. Now, in order to clean this up, we're going to use a tool which I've actually done a video on before, and it really comes into its own here, and that's the Miller's Falls hand vise, and we're going to use that to hold the shaft that's got the pulley on, and then we'll clean it up on the grinding wheel. So we've got the axle mounted in the Miller's Falls hand vise like that. I'll do one side, I'll do this side, then I'll flip this end on end and do the other side. But this is a very safe way of cleaning up small parts. This is where the Miller's Falls hand vise, it really comes into its own. And there you can see, it makes a really good job of cleaning it up. Your fingers don't get anywhere near the wire wheel. Now I'll flip that around and do the other side. Well, that didn't take long. A little bit of wire wheel work, and then some manual work with some wire wool to clean up the little flywheels that are on the hammer and the press. And it's pretty much all ready to go back together. We just got to wait for the paint to harden off, and then I will be able to assemble it. The other thing I did say that I must look into is Mamod dry belts. I know I've got some. I don't know how many. I might not have enough, because obviously this thing needs 4 plus the one that drives the main flywheel. We'll have to look into that. But anyway, it's nearly ready to go back together. It's been several days now since I painted the base, so hopefully it's had plenty of time to harden off. All the parts are cleaned up. I've got a brand new bag of very nice brass hex head screws. So let's get this thing assembled. Well, here it is all together. I now have what I set out to achieve, a Mamod WS1 Workshop, but with green accessories rather than the blue ones. And I think it's turned out okay, actually. It's what I hoped to achieve. Current state with the drive belts is none of my Mamod drive belts are the right size, and I've only got a few anyway, so I need to get some more. I don't really want to use the green rubber type belts on this, because originally it would have had the Mamod spring type drive belts, and that's what I want to put on it. So I'm going to have to do a bit of dig around on eBay and see if we can find some. But yeah, apart from that, it's finished. It all works. They all turn nicely. The keen-eyed amongst you will notice that there is a slight difference in the shade of green on the various attachments. For instance, most of the buffer, the grinder, the hammer, and the press are more or less the same, but it's certainly a shade darker on the uprights for the line shaft. But it's not that noticeable, to be honest with you, and it certainly looks okay to me. So we need to get some drive belts for it, and then we can get it hooked up to a nice Mamod engine and get the whole thing running. But no, I think it's turned out okay so far.